Warren Harding, the driving force behind the first ascent of El Capitan. His ascent of the nose took 45 days spread over 18 months. 675 piton placements and 125 bolts were needed during this massive siege, which culminated in Harding's all-night bolting epic on the final pitch and a place in Yosemite history. It is his doggedness and determination which become quickly apparent when you repeat one of his climbs. They are always bold, often taking the line of most resistance, with hard technical aid climbing often involving the use of bolts. Harding was a colourful character who lived life to the full with parties, fast cars, beautiful girlfriends and a jug of wine never far away. He entered climbing relatively late in life and so was not well versed in established ethics when he arrived on the valley climbing scene. This combined with the natural renegade in his character to create a fair degree of disapproval in some quarters. In particular, he was not afraid to use bolts where others balked, and whilst everyone admired his grit and tenacity on long hard climbs in difficult conditions, it was the bolting issue which was to cause controversy over some of his climbs. Three years after Harding's ascent of the nose, Royal Robbins, Chuck Pratt and Tom Frost took climbing in Yosemite another step forward with their ascent of the Salathé Wall. These three wanted to get away from the siege tactics used by Harding on the nose, doing the climb in a single alpine-style push from the Heart Ledges at about the 600-foot level, a bold approach in Yosemite at the time. Steepening natural cracks and the ominously overhanging head wall make this one of the finest rock climbs in the world. Thereafter, the 60s were really the peak of the golden age of Yosemite climbing. Hard routes appeared all over the valley as one last great problem after another fell to advances in equipment and attitude. July 1970 saw Warren Harding recovering from a badly broken leg. He limped around the valley with two of his best friends, Glenn Denny and a jug of wine, searching for the ultimate remaining line. They were drawn towards the biggest cliff, El Capitan, and settled into the El Cap meadow. As they enjoyed the sunshine and the booze, they inspected a line of thin cracks to the right of the El Cap tower, above which a blank section led to a huge unclimbed dihedral, and above that, the summit overhangs. Their search was over, and as they knew the sun would strike the top of this wall before anywhere else in the valley, only one name would do: the Wall of the Early Morning Light. The climb turned out longer and harder than anything Harding had ever done before. Climbed in the autumn of 1970 with Dean Caldwell, it took 27 days, far longer than any valley climb to date, and needed 330 drilled holes for expansion bolts and rivets, also by far a Yosemite record. The team had to endure 3 storms, slim rations, and slow, difficult climbing. 20 days into the climb, the park rangers became concerned at their lack of progress, only about 100 feet a day, and they attempted to mount a rescue. This was firmly rejected by the climbers, who were determined to complete the climb. The fiasco of the failed rescue triggered a media frenzy and a vast amount of publicity during the latter part of the climb. As Harding and Caldwell pulled over the rim, they were astounded to find about 100 newsmen, well-wishers and friends gathered on the top. Many people felt the climb as a magnificent achievement, but others, amongst them Royal Robbins, saw it as an unnaturally forced line. Robbins thought the number of bolts excessive, and many traditional climbers assumed all the publicity had been orchestrated by Harding and Caldwell for their personal gain. This was very inaccurate, although Harding and Caldwell certainly did not object to the publicity, appearing on several TV shows in the months after the climb. Robbins became ever more incensed as time went by, eventually deciding that the Wall of the Early Morning Light was unacceptable and a step too far. In February 1971, armed with a cold chisel, he made the second ascent, intent on chopping all the bolts, thereby erasing the route. However, after 4 pitches he realised the climbing was not the bolt ladder he had expected, but contained extremely hard and inspired aid climbing. He put his chisel away in the haul bag and continued to the top, to face inevitable criticism, leaving the main part of the route intact. I'm very glad he did. It meant that in September 2002, Dave Johnson and I were able to set out for Yosemite to attempt this formidable wall for ourselves. We were joined by Ian Butler and Mike Eden, who were aiming for a simultaneous ascent of the Salathé Wall. Dave and I chose to avoid the original start, which is heavily riveted in its lower section, doing instead the New Dawn variation, which follows a more natural line up cracks and corners to the left of the original. New Dawn climbs past Lay Lady Ledge with its in-situ barbecue, and up the right-hand side of the El Cap Tower to good ledges at its top. From here the route breaks out rightwards across blank rock, rejoining the original route at the bottom of the dihedrals which inspired the climb in the first place. At the top of the dihedrals is a fine bivvy on the Wino Tower, in the middle of the picture now. Then flaky looking rock leads up and left to a line of smooth corners and overhangs. The route climbs past the right hand side of the large overhang of the Dawn roof to a ramp line which peters out on the final exposed head wall. Our first day in the valley was spent at Camp 4, assembling our equipment. A lot of gear is needed for a climb we expected to take 9 days. more than 60 kilos of water alone, plus food, portaledge, bivvy gear, storm gear, and a huge pile of ropes, hardware and mysterious big wall gadgets. The next morning, with Ian and Mike helping to carry gear, we made an early start for El Capitan.
Even when they reach the top, here goes a supernova. What a pushover! Shooting stars never stop. Even when they reach the top, there goes a supernova. What a pushover! Yeah, there goes a supernova. Welcome to the pleasure dome. Going home where lovers roam. Welcome to the pleasure dome.
Morning viewers, this is a skyhook placement, and hang on, take a look down here. You see I've got a short rope ladder attached to it and I'm hanging off it at the moment. Although there is a nice bolt just there. And well, it's the first half of the first pitch. Rightio, the first pendulum of the day. Dave is just down here, so I haven't made much progress. And I want to go over there. So I'm just going to have to run a bit. Ready? I missed. Try again. Got it. The wall of the early morning light is a full-on aid route. There is virtually no free climbing. This means that the leader has to place gear by hand or use in-situ gear, and he gains height mainly by stepping up in short rope ladders called etriers. The interesting thing about this sort of climbing is that there is a huge variety of possible gear placements, many of which will only just hold body weight. When the leader reaches a belay, he anchors the climbing rope, which the second man then climbs up, removing any non-fixed gear as he goes. The leader, meanwhile, has to haul the gear, using a separate rope called the haul line. You quickly realise on a big wall that you spend more time and effort hauling than you do climbing. We had 2 haul bags, each weighing about 70 kilos. These had to be hauled one at a time. Right, can you see that little thing just there? This is pitch 3. Which is fairly frightening because that's a copperhead, but it's not as bad as the one that I'm actually hanging off at the moment, which is just sort of squidged into a little hole in the rock there. And joy of joys, the next placement is the copperhead, and then ooh, aren't I the lucky one? Another one. In fact, I can see about 6. Where is it? It's quite a long way down from pitch 3. Let's have a look. The view down pitch 3 shows why copperheads were needed. The crack is not wide or deep enough for conventional gear placements. Hello world. The end of day 1. And we're about 3, well we are exactly 3 pitches up. And I'm just about to haul the bag Dave's dewmiring up a pitch which seems to consist almost entirely of copperheads. Once he gets here we're going to head back down to the ground and go and have some beer, I think. From the top of pitch 3, a 350-foot abseil led back to the ground. There was just one thing I couldn't resist doing while I had the opportunity. Day 2 started with a long climb back up the fixed rope, using a technique known as prussicking or dewmiring. 2 ascenders are used, and these clamp onto the rope and can be moved up, but will not slip back down. By attaching an etria to each ascender, it is possible to virtually walk up the rope. The standard technique on big walls is for the second man to dewmire up each pitch, removing any gear that the leader has placed. Once we'd both reached the high point, the next job was to haul the second bag. We haven't even got to the good bit yet, where the bag comes off the ground.
Something stretch still, you think?
Something to look forward to, isn't it? I don't think you'd be hauling it that easily if the bag was on the end. No sign of it yet. It's miles away. Another party dewmiring up the first pitch or two of Mescalito. Right, this is the first move of the day. And it's not the last one like that, that's a rivet. But Dave's hanging off it, hang on, where is he? Let's have a look.
I'm thinking 3 at least.
I think
3 and a copperhead.
something to look forward to then.
Yes, excellent.
Yep, up this blank bit of wall here. With just a few more rivets to go. Lovely. Well, Dave successfully overcame our first experience of rivets, and I led on up pitch 5, a thin corner crack needing small cam placements, leaper cam hooks, and some in situ pitons or pegs. We carried about 20 pitons, 3 emergency bolts, a drill bit, 20 copperheads, and 2 hammers to place them with. This heavy collection of ironmongery was for use as a last resort, to replace any in situ gear which was damaged or missing. Our aim was to do the whole climb using hand-placed gear only, if possible, thereby preserving the rock. This sort of climbing is basically a continuous problem-solving exercise, which can be very time-consuming. After my slow ascent of pitch 5, followed by the usual double haul, Dave set off up pitch 6, which involved a pendulum to some very tenuous placements in a corner, topped off with a short off-width chimney, which had to be free-climbed. Not an enjoyable prospect laden with gear in the gathering gloom. I was slightly concerned at this point. I wasn't particularly looking forward to the prospect of dewmiring up the pitch in the dark. Well, here we are. I'm at the top of the 5th pitch. Dave's at the top of the 6th pitch. And that's the haul bag going up. Hopefully I'll be able to get up there as well in time for tea. My first experience of dewmiring at night turned out to be less worrying than expected. The feeling of exposure is actually less at night when the drop below is invisible. next morning found us safely tucked up on our portaledge, with the gear in need of a bit of a sort out. We had 2 rope bags made by our friend Claire Francis. These helped enormously with minimising rope tangles, although I was a bit dubious about the hearts which she stitches onto all her products. From our portaledge we had a good view down past Dave's off-width slot to the ground 700 feet below. With the sun about to appear from behind Half Dome on the other side of the valley, we looked up to find the early morning light which gave the route its name. Pitch 7 would lead up to Lay Lady Ledge, then pitches 8 and 9 followed the shadowy corner at the side of the El Cap Tower. As I set off up pitch 7, the sunlight worked its way quickly down the wall to meet us. Instantly the temperature shot up. Nights were quite cool, but each day we were baked in the sun. There's no water on a granite wall in the summer, and precious little shade. At the risk of looking like Mary Poppins, it's better to bring your own. Above the cryptically named Lay Lady Ledge, Dave climbed the wide overhanging cracks of pitch 8, with the large mass of the El Cap Tower on his left-hand side, giving some welcome shade. Regular valley floor tours bring earthbound sightseers to the base of the cliff, as climbers work their way inch by inch up a wall so vast that you can never appreciate its size unless you climb it yourself. Right, Lay Lady Ledge, Dave, and it's pitch 9, isn't it, Dave? Yeah, pitch 9, sort of overhanging crack really, all we can say about it. Well, pitch 9 is turning out considerably more exciting than I first thought. Just have a look at this. Here we are. That's a number 4 Camelot, and that's a number 4 Camelot, and those are the only 2 bits of gear that fit in the whole of this crack down to that bolt down there. Must be about 25-30 feet below. After the memorable exposure of pitch 9, we settled down at the end of day 3 for an evening meal of curry, as usual, and pasta on a ledge near the top of the El Cap Tower. Day 4, and it's Dave's turn to start, climbing hollow-sounding flakes to a big ledge on the top of the tower. From this point we would leave the security of the corners below and set off across the open wall. Where are we? Where are we? Top of pitch 11, is it?
Yeah, pitch 11.
Yeah. Dave seems to be comfortable. And that was the next pitch.
Driving hard.
Fortunately, there seemed to be a nice long continuous line of bolts up there. That'll be pitch 12.
Entries blowing around in that shop.
All very atmospheric. There is a line of bolt stations down the nose, set up by the park rangers to assist parties who have to retreat from this popular route. Leaving the El Cap Tower behind meant that this easy descent option was no longer available to us. Enjoy that bit?
Lovely. I just love being dangling on a single rope over the precipice. way down, isn't it?
Yep. We knew that the climb would get progressively harder from this point, with the last 4 pitches, around the dawn roof and the wall above, being the crux section. A pendulum move on pitch 13 was the point of no return. Dave lowered off a bolt midway through the pitch, then swung over to skyhook placements and a belay position in an exposed part of the wall. As we pulled the abseil rope down from above, I think we both felt a little bit tense. Right, do you think this will work, Dave?
No idea.
Hello.
Yes, more or less works.
Oh, let's make it look a bit steeper.
We're not both in, are we? If I move my head off, both people.
Oh, it's a long way down.
More ground.
Yes, that's down. That's looking right. That's looking left. It's a bit blank here because that's looking up. This is the popularly recognised rivet, which is just a little bit of thread sticking out of the rock. Oh, where's the next one? There's the next one. There's another one. Oh, and quite a few more over there. And what have we got down here? Oh dear. Evening all. Once again, it's quite dark. Well, that's Dave just following a pendulum on the last traverse pitch into the wall of the early morning light, and it's the end of day 4. Hopefully, if I keep filming in this general direction, yeah, he's wiring up to the next bolt. Sorting something out. There he is, back on the route. Day 5 starts with the first sketchy aluminium rivet of the route. Fortunately, Dave's going to be pulling on it, not me. I'm sure I'll get my turn. That's just a little sort of rod of aluminium bashed into a shallow hole. But it should take body weight with a bit of luck. Good luck then.
Yes.
You might think that climbing this slowly would not be good spectator sport, but you'd be wrong. It fits then.
Well, kind of. As good as anything will.
The 3 pitches up the dihedrals were climbed almost exclusively on the small button-sized heads of 30-year-old aluminium rivets, with the occasional copperhead or two which could be used for protection. The rivets themselves would not take shock loading, and we didn't have any spare wire slings small enough to fit over them anyway. Fortunately, the main belay anchors at the end of each pitch are very good, so a leader fall would probably not exceed 350 feet. Dave with some welcome security, no doubt, after quite a few rivets. Oh, that's the way forward up there. Should be up there somewhere. See it. Hello, it's me again. Merrily riveting my way up the wall of the early morning light. And this is what all the fuss is about. Let's have a look. That's the rivet I'm hanging off at the moment. And what else we got up there? Oh, go on and reach. Some copperheads up there. And we just have a little look down here. How close can we get in on that? Oh, yes, there's a copperhead down there. You just bashed into the crack, you see. And there's Dave. He's just enjoying himself in the sun. Lovely rock architecture, I think you'll have to admit. Right, better get on with it, so we can get to the White Oak Tower in time to have some wine. One of the nice things about aid routes is that whilst the leader labours away at the sharp end of the rope, the second man has plenty of time on each pitch to just look around and soak up the daily hum of the valley. Harding's original start did not pass Lay Lady Ledge or the El Cap Tower ledges. In fact, it was not until the top of the 3 pitches up the dihedrals that he reached a decent-sized natural ledge. He promptly celebrated by opening some red wine and having a party. It was also while he was here that the park rangers mounted their rescue bid. Unfortunate timing, perhaps, as I'm sure the very last thing Harding and Caldwell wanted was to be dislodged from their cosy and exclusive ledge. Anyway, having a party at this point seemed like a good idea to me. I trust it's satisfactory. To make it all worthwhile. It smells so good, I'm going to have some myself.
We're going to be quite pissed off.
Oh,
I had about 2 mouthfuls.
Top of Wino Tower, the morning after the booze up, and this is possibly the best bivvy on El Capitan. You've got a nice little ledge there which you can stand on to get into the portal edge, and you've got a fantastic view of the overhanging bit up there. You've got a fantastic view looking down to the El Cap meadow. And looking up the other way, all along towards the east buttress, and the imminent sunrise over Half Dome in the distance there. Not a bad spot, I think you'll have to agree. Morning. Day 6 is starting off with a very strenuous little crack. Let's have a little look at that. Where is it? Yes, I've been fighting up this little pod for the last half hour or so. And let's have a look. At least it's a bit more open up there. Should be somewhat easier climbing, hopefully. I was wrong about that, but anyway, Dave led on through, putting on his rock boots, as for some reason he said he felt the urge to do some free climbing. Quite an impressive decision given the position we were in. Unfortunately, the weight of gear required for aid climbing makes it very difficult to mix free and aid on the same pitch, and it wasn't long before Dave stepped back into his etriers, continuing up to a good ledge. Above that, a corner full of creaking flakes led to our bivvy spot for the night. I wonder, with hindsight, whether spending so much time on a portaledge is actually a good thing.
When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.
Lips are getting a bit sore. I need a shave as well. It's going to be a few days before I get one. Now this bit of rock is very interesting as it's got the early morning light on it, true to its name. It looks like a nice golden glow at 7:15 in the morning, which means that our bodies will warm up and get going and we'll be off climbing up the dawn roof, which if I'm lucky will be up there somewhere. Only I can't see this screen anymore. Now theoretically I could justify lying down in order to take this shot, but in practice it just means I can get back into my sleeping bag. Hang on, that's not the dawn roof, I got the wrong one. That's it over there. That's tomorrow's project, I think, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
A day away yet.
Jolly good. Now this is a bent bit of metal called a leaper cam hook, and you just stuff it into a crack and then hang off it, and the torsion of your weight pulling down and twisting it round stops you falling off all the way down pitch 22 past my foot. Just after filming this clip, I dropped two of my favourite bits of gear, a pair of irreplaceable clog 2 wedges. They landed beside Dave, and he sent them back up to me on the haul rope. This is probably the only place on the entire 27 pitch climb where I could have got away with this mistake, so I was extremely lucky, as was anybody 2,500 feet below down on the ground. The way forward was up a thin crack, and then left round an overhang into a bottomless corner and an exposed belay position. There's another view down, thought you might be interested. In the distance it looks like there's a party on reticent, so where are they? They're yeah, they're down there. They're heading up towards that set of ledges, which is where we spent not last night but the night before, and that's the top of Wino Tower, that bit right in the middle of the screen. Coming up second and cleaning a pitch needs to be done efficiently. Dave wasted no time and set off up pitch 23 around one small roof to a belay below a second small roof, which you can just see. This was to be our bivvy spot for the night. Now portaledges are superb, but they can still move an inch or two if you don't move your weight carefully enough. You wouldn't believe that this was a totally organised belay, would you? Because it looked like a complete dog's dinner. But this is more organised than it usually is. And incredibly enough, I think it's the second day in a row that we've finished in the daylight. Just about. The cars are coming past with their headlights on. But,
The ledge moving.
Atmospheric ledge move there. And yeah, we've got nice little panorama, because that's the left wall of the room. There's the ceiling. And over there's the right wall. So all we're missing is the front wall and the floor. But we don't really need those. Now, completely organised end of the first week. Morning. Hopefully this will be the last day but one. Just got to do the dawn roof and one more pitch after that. That'll be today's quota. And then 2 pitches tomorrow should take us to the top. So, where have we got to today? Well, this is the little wire trock that I'm hanging off at the moment. And down here is the rather awkward little corner crack that I've been working my way up for the last, I don't know, half an hour or so. What else have we got? Let's have a look over here. It's got quite a nice view of Half Dome just there. And let's go back over here and have a little look up. Okay. Big overhang. Somehow I've got to try and get around that. I'll consider that in a minute. I will report back once we're around the overhang, hopefully. Well, this is up near the very end of the Dawn Roof pitch. You see that block I'm standing on with a crack down the back? Well, I poked a nut key down there, raked out a load of mud and then stuffed a friend vertically down there and bent it over the block and then hung off that. And that got me out of this little corner. A3 apparently, if you'd have used pitons, but I managed to avoid it, so I'm quite pleased with that. I did have to use the cheat stick to get up to this peg that I'm currently hanging off that's right up there. So well done, Mike, I owe you a beer for that. Saved me doing a horrific looking leaper cam hook move in that crack there. So definitely worth a beer. Well, this is quite an amusing shot. It's the haul bag just coming round the lip of the Dawn Roof. As you can see, the territory is getting rather overhanging. Just thought I'd share this nice view with you. I'm on the stance above the Dawn Roof, just waiting for Dave to come up, and I'm just looking around really. No idea which pitch this is, but it's the one after the roof, and Dave's on gardening leave, working his way up through some very nice flowers towards a bit of C3 expanding up there somewhere. Do you know what belay this is? Apart from 2 significant pitches below the top and the cool ledge.
20 something, I guess.
Probably.
76525 maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a room with a view.
24 on early morning light, so it's our 25th.
Excellent. And quite incredibly, we finished in the daytime. Although we have only done 2 pitches today.
We have indeed.
Hello, people in the meadow.
Waiting for another run.
Oh. Right, bit of free climbing for me this morning, apparently. Must be a way I can aid it. Up round there, up round the ramp, some sort of peg crack round the corner. And then one more climbing pitch after that. Another one of Dave's favourite C2 plus hooking pitches. And I think there's some rivets to round things off nicely. And hopefully the top before it gets dark. Morning. Last day, about 1.5 pitches from the top. Have a little look up here, if we can. There's a very blank looking wall with a thin crack and a load of copperheads sticking out of it. Should be quite memorable. Anyway, and that is the top right up there. Oh yes, a peg with a cracked eye and all. Now this is the smallest copperhead that they make. Let's see, just compare with the size of my fingernail. Yes, and I'm particularly enjoying hanging off it because have a little look down here. Ah yes, there you see, that's the penultimate pitch, and it's quite thin. If we look up, it's about 6 feet up to the next one, which is a big fat one, and then I can see 3 big fat bolts. That's my target. Notice how Dave can't easily unclip the rope from the piece of gear he wants to clean. So he nonchalantly takes the hire of his 2 Jumars off the rope and replaces it above the piece. Taking Jumars off the rope nearly 3,000 feet off the ground has to be done without making a mistake. On this sort of route you get a lot of practice. Now he does it again. Last pitch, and some happy hooking to be done.
Yes. I'll get a photo of you, really.
Oh, there's Dave. You can see the belay bolts from where he is. Only a few more feet. He says he's going to free climb the mantle shelf up onto that thing on the right. Good luck to him. Kind of steep here. As Dave prepared himself for the final move, I savoured the last few minutes perched right on the crown of El Capitan. He's got his hand in his chalk bag. Look forward to a bit of wild action on the final overhang then.
Go on, heave. Got his knee on. He's got his knee on the top. Excellent.
Only just fucking mate there.
Well done.
As the haul bag disappeared up for the last time, part of me was sorry to be leaving the wall. We got pretty used to it by now, but then again, a shower and a beer seemed quite appealing too. Finally the top, and we hauled the bags to horizontal ground. Harnesses came off for the first time in 9 days, and as we were planning to bivvy on the top that night and descend the next day, there was no rush to do anything at all. We had a chilled out afternoon, drinking tea, soaking up the view, and winding down from the climb.
Power bars. Croutons. We could have croutons in the soup tonight, couldn't we?
I thought about Harding, sitting here 32 years ago, after nearly a month on the wall. The leaves were green when he started his climb, changing colour and falling from the trees by the end of it. A few months before Dave and I completed the wall of the early morning light, Warren Harding died in Sacramento, California, from liver failure, not surprisingly. I never got the chance to meet him personally. I'm sure it would have been very interesting. But following in his footsteps, where he carved his legacy in granite, has given me some insight, and I feel richer for it. Try one of his routes one day, and you'll see what I mean.